Hey, Brandon,
Hey, Alan.
and welcome to Dice Over Everything, the miniatures gaming podcast.
So this week I've been thinking about Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the movie. I don't know, you remember that one, right? It might just be because we're in Toronto, so
Yes.
we're biased and we're like, oh, it was based in Toronto, so that was a cool
Yeah,
movie. Which I don't know, maybe it was,
also,
maybe it
there's a
wasn't.
new TV show that came out. Sorry, am I spoiling what you were gonna head into? Sorry.
No, not at all.
There's a new Netflix TV show for Scott Pilgrim versus the World coming out now, so maybe you saw some advertisements for it.
Yeah. Well, my thing is that movie you would basically describe as people who are obsessed with indie culture, knowing
Uh-huh.
about the things that nobody else knows about, being the first one to hear about this thing, and
Yeah,
having all
definitely
that one
hipster. Yeah,
very hipster. Yeah,
yeah.
I can see that overlapping with gamers too. They're just being like, oh man, you haven't heard this weird thing in this
Yeah.
universe. So it's the same
So
sort of.
what you're saying is, if we were into music, we would
Mhm.
be characters in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, as opposed to miniature gamers, which makes us. There's no movie about miniature gamers. So
No, not really. And just trying to write this list for Frostgrave, I'm
uh,
like, I'm gonna have to get really hipster over this list. I'm gonna have to
uh,
do the thing that nobody else knows about or discover the new trend to make
okay.
this one work.
So you are saying that actually, not only would you be Scott Pilgrim, but you are the Scott Pilgrim-esque character in the Frostgrave universe.
No, I don't think I'm not Scott Pilgrim. I'm just one of the other
Yeah, not that.
bystanders who's
That guy's kind of an asshole, actually.
yeah, yeah.
But one of the nicer characters, you know?
But who's also still into that scene of being some form of terrible hipster.
Sure. And I think I've mentioned many times that that's just, yeah, also who the type of person I am. I'm pretty sure I used to like to think I was just, a nerd. I was just really into a lot of things, but I feel like that special snowflake thing that turns a nerd into a hipster is in me. So, yeah.
So Scott Pilgrim versus the World being based in Toronto was very descriptive. All
Yep.
of us terrible older millennials were all like that.
Yes. I
Okay,
just
sure.
actually got the color edition of the comic books of Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
We're
So,
terrible.
yes,
I
this is
feel like we're
very,
terrible.
very.
I feel like we're terrible people now.
Oh, okay. First of all,
Yeah.
great show, great comic,
Okay.
based in Toronto. What's not to love? I got the new box that I got has a slipcover,
Hmm.
and it says Scott Pilgrim, but it is the Honest Ed's logo sign, and I got it for my birthday, right? So my
Hmm.
sister who got it was like, "Why is that the Honest Ed sign?" And we got to have this entire conversation, but I told my sister, who is not into comics at all,
Okay.
telling her about, how I'm a hipster. And also, I like to read comics about hipsters too.
Yeah, for those who aren't listening, Honest Ed's is basically like a department store, but it's not a chain.
Classic department store
It's just one of them was around for I have no idea how long, and I
for the
lived right
longest
next to it.
period. Yeah. It finally got bulldozed to put up condos. Yay.
That's very Toronto as well. But let's move on from our city and how
It's
soulless we might
upsetting
be.
as a
How we're just,
Torontonian hipster. It's very upsetting that it got taken down along with Sam the Record Man's giant billboard.
Mhm.
And also I'm scared of the Beguiling, which is our like basically the best comic store in Toronto, going out of business too. Shout out to the
Oh,
Beguiling.
all right. Well, let's talk about other things like Frostgrave, I
Oh
suppose,
yeah, yeah. There are
and
podcasts
our
about. I
hipster
keep on
take on this
forgetting.
because we're
Yeah,
apparently nothing but dirty hipsters.
yeah. This is a miniature gaming podcast. I keep on
Yes.
forgetting. Yeah. So today is another day of Frostgrave 101. I think this is lesson 8 or
Sure.
9. It's definitely a lesson, anyways.
Hmm.
This one is a continuation of going through all the different schools in Frostgrave. And so, what are we up to now?
We are up to the Sigilist.
Ooh, the Sigilist. So, do you want to describe how we rate each one of these schools as we've been going through?
Sure, why not? We'll get started with the tier list because everything's about tier lists for ranking the spells of the Sigilist. So from sort of A, B, C, and then just flat out F spells. Then sort of for the complementary schools, the 3 complementary schools that the Sigilist happens to have, what sort of spells you'd be looking to from those complementaries, and then the neutrals that you think fit for 2 or more you'd sort of do a build for, and then your preferred loadout if you were going to build the Sigilist.
Yep, as a starter pack.
Yep.
All right. Without any further ado, let's get it going. Yeah. First one is Absorb Knowledge. This is a out-of-game spell after the game with a TN of 12. And it's very, very simple. If you succeed, only the wizard can cast it. And if you succeed, you get 40 experience points. That can be above the 300 experience points cap of a normal game. But you cannot cast this if your wizard was taken out of the game, like reduced to 0 health, basically, in the previous game. Yep. So, what do you think? What rating?
So, I think this is a nice support spell. You get free stuff off of it, potentially.
Yep.
It's out of game.
40 XP is a lot.
It's out of game, so you don't have to be, 40 XP is a lot. So, I give it solid B, just like I do most solid support spells. It doesn't get an A spells I expect to be game changers. This is just solid support.
I would agree. There's nothing bad about this spell. It's strong, but not at 40 XP, not quite overpowered. You basically have to succeed at casting it 3 times to get a level, and every game you basically get 2 levels, right? So in general, it'll take you something like 5 games to get an extra level, which is not crazy. Like oftentimes if you just do better in the game, you will get those XPs, right? So yeah. But still good.
Yeah, I think 100 XP would make it an A tier. That'd be pretty crazy, but
that would be busted.
That'd be bonkers at that level. Yeah. But it's a nice B. All right. I don't think there's too much to say about this. There's no real strategy around it. You want it for campaigns, obviously, not one-off games. It's pretty simple.
It's absolutely useless for a one-off game. It's even cast after the game, too. So you're just like, okay, now that we're done our one-off game, let me see if I would have gotten an extra 40 XP. Anyways, the next one, second spell we'll go over, is Bridge. This is a new one. And it is a TN10 where you can create a bridge in line of sight that is basically a ramp or a staircase that is 6-inch long and 2-inch wide anywhere. So it basically allows you to climb up, or create a permanent bridge to allow your units to climb up or go over, let's say, some terrain without having to actually climb over it and lose movement, right? And unlike a lot of spells like Leap, everyone can use it, right, when you cast it. It will go away at the end of the turn on a roll of 1 to 2, in which case it disappears, or you can also have their spellcaster make it disappear when it activates for free, so you don't actually have to spend any actions to do it.
And so if it goes away and you're on it, you could just fall to the ground?
Yes, you will fall to the ground. So if anyone so the bad thing is if you're trying to stay on the bridge to escape someone, you stay on it and you roll 1 or 2, you will fall down, which has happened to me in a game before. So the last thing is spellcasters can only have 1 bridge at a time, which I think is kind of lame. It would be cool to be able to chain them, but
yeah.
All right, so what do you think about this spell?
So I think it's hugely dependent on the terrain that your group plays with. You honestly need to have a lot of vertical going on in the games to make this see much use. I mean, we've played some games where it was hugely useful because we put treasure on top of all sorts of stuff, and maybe that could be part of your strategy is to put treasure tokens on top of things and then take bridge. if your terrain is suitable for that, but I find this is getting into the corner case territory. There's just so many other things you'd rather be doing in the game.
Yeah.
That I put this down at the C level.
Yeah.
I don't put this at the totally useless level because there's something you could do with it. Like I just said, you put terrain on top of things and go, ha ha ha, I can get there faster than you because of my bridge. But
So I actually took this spell because it seemed interesting on our last campaign, and I casted it for the first few games and then never casted it again. Yeah. So this to me is low C. The issue is, like I said, it disappears. But actually the biggest issue is the bridge is kind of short at 6. And the other thing is you can use it as stairs. So you can kind of, with 6 inches, you can use it as stairs to go over a wall, a 3-inch wall, right? So you go up and down, right?
The problem is you could just probably walk around the wall faster.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You can often walk around the wall faster. And then the other thing is TN 10, which is insane to me. This should definitely be a TN 8 spell. If this was a TN 8 spell, it could possibly be a B spell, right? Because it allows, a lot of movement when you do that. But unfortunately, because it's TN 10, it was just always too hard to cast for too little. You'd rather cast like a leap or something like that, which if it's allied spell, you can't do it from a Sigilist because those are opposed, but for a lot of different casters, a leap that is and an allied is a 10 as well, right? And you're like, but if I'm an actual Sigilist, that's as hard as casting a bridge. That's crazy. So I found really, not very good. I'd say this is almost an F.
Yeah, if there's a piece of treasure up at the top of the thing, you just leap a guy up there. Like it's faster.
Yeah, many different things.
Yeah. I mean, it's not an F, but it's not. It's hard to justify doing this.
It needed tweaking. I think if it was an 8, okay, maybe it's a C, because if it was an 8, I would consider it a B. So.
Okay.
And longer.
You're the one who tried to make it work.
Yeah. If it was an 8 and 8 inches, then I would say it would become a B. All right. Next spell, Draining Word. So I love this spell. This is one of the spells I took. Oh, that's a spoiler.
Okay.
I took in the previous one. This is a TN 14, so very high. But basically, when you cast it, you choose one spell out of any spells anyone could cast, and that spell from now on gets a -3 to cast. And you can only have one Draining Word up at one time. Technically, it says it just happens, but I would say you should probably create a little, rune or something so that people can dispel it. But rules as written, I don't think you can dispel this game.
Oh, good.
Dispel this thing, which I think is probably not right.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about Draining Word?
So there's a lot of A-tier spells out there. We've talked about things like Mind Control, things like Elemental Ball. This other spellcaster is just going to lean on. And once they're on the table, if you see that's their game plan, they're not trying to sort of do a little bit here, do a little bit there. You see they're going all in on one thing like that. Having a spell like this is so rewarding. So, but it's not going to be a game changer. Well, it's not going to be a total game changer. You're just going to force them to take damage to get their spells up, which is good. You're not going to break them. It's not going to break the course of the game, but it's going to get you a nice advantage. So again, I see this falling under the support spell category, but this is a strong support spell, so it still just gets a B from me.
Yeah, I'd say it's a B. So when you cast, so 14, when I looked at it, I thought 14 was high, but when you reduce this down, people will hate you because this basically means that if you think about it, it reduces it by 3, right? So for every spell that they cast, they're now often taking 3 more damage, basically, right?
If it's a spell they're willing to take damage to do, they're just taking.
Yeah, but 3 is a lot every single time they're casting if they're trying to, cast important spells, right? If they're spamming 1, it can often change what they do, and so I think it's it's surprisingly strong and surprisingly good because the thing with health is your health is a resource in Frostgrave, right?
It's,
So 3 health doesn't seem that much, but that is often like enough health to stop people from casting a couple spells later into the game,
yeah, especially if they're
right?
trying to do the same spell over and over with their wizard apprentice, wizard apprentice. They're trying to like elemental
Yeah,
ball you, elemental ball you, elemental ball you. You're like,
yeah.
yeah, you're not going to get all those off anymore.
Yeah, because they can pay the 3 health, right, to get there a couple of times, but that's 6 damage, which is huge. And suddenly now they're much more vulnerable to a stray shot from your wizard or a crossbow or something like that because they can't don't have the health to like absorb that, right?
Yep.
So it becomes really dangerous. So I really like this spell. Again, though, because it's mostly just like a counter to other spells, I would say this is B, but I'd never be, and because it's 14 actually. If this was 12, it would be very even stronger. But at 14, good spell. Generally, you have to reduce it by a couple to make it useful. But I'd say overall, this is a B, solid B.
Yeah, if your opponent's going for more of a mixed bag of like do a little bit here, do a little bit there, rather than just trying to go all in, this isn't going
Yeah.
to do all that much. So I might even give it a B minus. But
I don't think so. I think a lot of most guys, most spellcasters end up leading on 1 or 2 spells, and just making that much harder to cast can really really change the math of when your enemies wizards get exhausted and have to run away and stop casting spells.
maybe I'm just too much of a special snowflake, and I refuse to lean on a spell. I'm just too
Yeah.
hipster to be like, no,
Here's
I'm
the
just
other thing: if they have spells that need willpower, right? Your
yes.
willpower is based on the casting roll that you succeeded on, right?
hmm
So even if they do succeed at the -3, it'll be -3 less powerful, right?
Yeah,
So
if they're going for
yeah,
mind control telekinesis on you,
yep,
you basically have an
yep,
advantage of 3 over and over if they're trying to screw with you that way.
yep. And that means that they basically can't. This is a small thing, but on a 10% chance of casting one of these willpower things like mind control, they will get a 19 or 20. With draining word, because it's -3, and because you can only willpower increase something to 18, they will never roll a 19 or 20 on a mind control anymore with draining word up.
Yep.
So
Yep.
great spell.
Definitely. All right. Continuing to the next one. This one I know you've
Sure.
taken a whole bunch of times too. This were you just playing Sigilist
Yes.
last time?
Yeah, I was playing Sigilist.
Wow,
I
such
was
a
actually really
mixer.
lucky. I basically got throughout the campaign, I got almost all of the Sigilist spells. I think I was missing Absorb Knowledge
Oh, neat.
and Push. So I was getting close. I was getting close to, being able to ascend. Anyways, the next spell is Explosive Rune. So this is a TN10. This is a very interesting spell. So you have to place a rune within 4 inches of your spellcaster, and each spellcaster can have up to 3 runes. And any enemy that moves within 1 of that rune will set the rune off, and then everyone, friend or foe, within 2 inches of the rune takes a +5 magic shooting attack. Oh, sorry, just a magic attack, not a shooting attack, because it's an
Huh,
explosion.
huh.
Uh, Yep, there's like if you're a wizard or the person spellcaster leaves the table, then each rune disappears on an 11 plus. I don't know why it's so complicated for that. Might as well just make them disappear automatically, but that's fine. So what do you think about the spell?
So when I saw you play it, it felt like a B spell, but
Uh-huh.
then reading it, the whole thing of it.
Thanks. Yeah, go on.
hmm Reading it, I'm like, this thing only goes off when someone moves within 1 inch, because the whole
Yeah,
point is to create a choke point that they can't get around very easily.
yeah,
Like, if it blew up 2 inches, when they got within 2 inches, that's a huge choke point you can create. But it's
yeah,
not creating that big of a choke point. It's only 1 inch wide. Like,
yep.
unless you're playing with tight corridors,
Mhm.
your opponent should just be able to spend a bit more movement and go around this. And honestly, you're not planting this on treasure either, because it's next to your spellcaster, and
Yeah,
you're
four
probably
inches
only going to be
away.
close to the treasure you've already got.
Uh-huh.
So, like, the utility I see of this is really, really low. Like, I'm putting this at a C just because of this only
Really?
that 1 inch thing. Yeah.
I Really disagree. I think this is a solid B spell. A +5 attack within 2 inches is very strong.
Yeah, they
Now,
got it's the setting off that I have the problem with.
so yeah, and you do have to get close, but 4 inches is not that close. It's not like that exploding spell, which you have to be within 3 inches.
Uh-huh.
And the other thing is you can place it and then walk away. So you can
Ah,
so you can uh and oh also when we're playing in Maze of Malcor. So there was an item that allows you to excuse me, move anywhere within 12 inches and then lay it down and then you automatically snap back at the end of the turn, right?
yeah, that's why I said
So
when you played it, it
so
made it look
yeah,
good. Because when you do it that way and you can
yeah,
drop it on your opponent, that's really
yeah.
cool.
So you
But
can
no,
lay it a lot further
hmm
and as long as you're within, and then make sure that you can get away basically, right?
yeah,
So I feel like I've actually found there's a lot of different things that you can do to make explosive rune go off. First of all, it's only TN10, so it's as a sigilist, it's pretty easy to cast. It's a very strong cast. It does a lot of damage, and especially against monsters. This
mm,
is really strong because it's you can lay it and then leave, and the monsters will just run into the thing, right?
okay, that's a decent argument for this because the monsters don't think about strategy of just staying a little
No.
away, the 1 inch away.
Yep.
Monsters don't think about that, so you can blow monsters'
Yep.
heads off with this thing. So not
Yep.
okay. That's a decent
And
argument.
then the other thing is when enemies will often approach you, you can place it 4 inches and then walk away, right? So you can cast first. So if they get within 4 inches of you, technically 5 inches, you can lay the mine and run off, right?
While they're
Or
still
the other
behind the corner.
thing, yeah, the other thing is oftentimes people will clump up, right? Because they will try to gang attack someone
Okay.
and then you can do the same kind of thing, right? So when they clump up, you can place the mine there and then walk away. So this does, though, require you to be able to navigate your sigilist very well, right?
Yeah, because you're getting really
But
close to the line of combat here.
yeah, but because you can just walk away and plus you can place them in opportune areas, there's a lot of different spells that allow this to be a lot easier to go off, right? And to be played more safely. So um, by itself, if you looked at it in a vacuum, I could see it being a lot worse, but there's so many spells that allow you to use it to your advantage. And just also blocking people off is strong, right? And you can also
Yes.
use your other units to force them into that kind of area.
Is there a limit to the number of these you can cast?
3.
3? Yeah, that's a good, decent
Yeah.
number.
You can exactly. You can lay them down in different areas. You can push people into them, right? Push people into the mines, pull people into them. There's so many ways with movement that you can do in the game that it is actually much more useful than it used to just blow up on you, but now that you can place it 4 inches away so you're never close enough for it to blow up on you, it's quite useful. And it also stops when you get close, you can lay the mine, so it also is a preventative thing uh, from anyone who tries to rush your wizard because they have to basically, they will basically be running through the mine to get to your wizard.
Yeah, that's true. If you play with enough terrain, it's
Yep.
what you should be.
Hmm.
We normally play with enough terrain to make it useful. So in our
Yep.
games, I would give it a B. I'm worried that a lot of people wouldn't be playing with enough terrain. So
It
I'd
relies on your other spells, but it's quite good. It hits really, really hard. And it's like +5 magic is like within 2 inches is the hardest you're gonna get outside of the elementalist, right? So great spell, I think.
yeah.
All right, enough about that spell. Next spell, Furious Quill. So this is also a TN10, and it automatically goes off, and the target will suffer -1 move, -2 fight, -4 shoot, and -2 to casting rolls. However, at the start of the turn it activates, it will test the will, And if it succeeds, then it basically dispels the Furious Quill.
Uh-huh.
So, what do you think?
I think there's a lot of other spells out there that are not like, because this is one of the non-damaging shooting spells.
Uh-huh.
There's other non-damaging shooting spells that fully just cause people to like lose an activation, whether it be poison. Like, I'm trying to think of all the other ones, but there's so many that take away.
No, poison needs a
one
will
activate.
roll.
Okay,
This one doesn't need a will roll. So this one is similar to the what's the one that Bones of the Earth, Bones of the Earth, Curse. What's the other one? There's a couple of ones that are out there. I think there was 4.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch that reduce
need,
your activations. I'm trying to think of off the top of my head, but
yeah, that affect the enemy without them needing a will roll. And then glow, I guess, automatically happens. That gives you plus shoot.
Blinding light.
Blinding light needs a will roll. Yeah, so you need a will roll for it to go off. Yeah. But from these spells, because this one doesn't need a will roll, it's in that other tier of spells. So if you cast it and then attack the person, they will get -2 fight, right?
Yeah. I'd rather just give myself +2 fight and know I have it going on. So I feel this is one of the
shoot them.
Yeah, could.
Sure.
I feel this is on the weaker end of those like
auto hit spells.
Yeah, auto hitting sort of curse style, reducing your opponent's power spells. I feel it's on the weaker end, so I want to give it a C because it's on the weak end.
I think it's a B. I think you're underestimating how strong it is to auto go off. I think all of the spells that go off automatically without the opponent having a will roll are all strong. And I would agree this is weaker than Curse. I think Curse is an amazing spell. So Curse is like bonkers good. So I think being a weaker version of Curse still lands you at a solid B. So and this also stops them. Yeah, it's just great for it to go off. Being in a different school is just really helpful, especially you shoot them right afterwards. You get that -2, and then if they don't succeed on the will roll, you're getting that -2 all the time. They're slowed down. They basically can't shoot if they actually fail the will roll right at the beginning, right? Because it's still the TN of the spell, right? So you get an extra bonus of anyone that fires at them before they activate will get them at -2, right? So shoot at them or close combat them. So it's not just one guy you super buff and fight them, it's anyone that fights them gets the effective +2, right? And it's it also reduces their damage ability in close combat as well, as opposed to the +2 fight.
Can you take what was a complementary spell if you're going for a double down on this from the Illusionist?
Yes, you can.
All right, interesting. Maybe we'll see that as one of your builds. I don't know.
Yep. So I think it's a B. I did use this. I ended up using it quite a bit. It's quite useful.
So if I was going to use it, I would want to double down and then glow them as well. Just go with your wizard. Drain. Well, yeah. Give them the quill. Give them the quill from the wizard. Give them the glow from the apprentice, and then just shoot them, and they just fall apart immediately. So it requires too much to go off for my liking. So it's still in my C category.
Sure. Yeah, I just think you're wrong. I think you're really undervaluing auto going off spells. All right. Next spell, Power Word. So this is the opposite of Draining Word. This is a TN 14 as well, but instead of making one spell that you choose be -3, it is +3 instead. So what do you think about this spell?
So I like this more than Draining Word, actually. And it's because I guess, like we just discussed, I kind of like those spells where they get the will roll back against you. But now if you start taking these from complementary schools, you've now got that 3 higher. It's 3 harder for them to break out. And it's now part of your plan to cast this stuff on them.
Sure.
And make it really hard for them to get out. So I give this a high B on this one.
I would agree. So the opposite of the thing is if you cast this on Mind Control, let's say, that makes it +3 harder for them to break out, right? That's a huge bonus, and that
Yeah.
does make it quite strong. The other thing that it does is it allows you, especially later in the game, you will end up knowing a lot of different spells, right? And when you know a bunch of different spells, sometimes the reason you can't cast them is because the TN is too hard. But you can use a power word depending on who you're fighting at the beginning to activate something. For example, in the campaign we're playing, I took the spell, but
Okay.
it was a little bit hard to cast because it's allied, right? It's from Sigilist, so it'd be 14. But after casting Power Word, it was equivalent 11 basically, because if I rolled an 11, I could cast it on a 14. So this allowed me, when I was facing someone where I would need the spell, to activate the spell by casting one spell at the beginning of the game.
Well, at that point, it doesn't even need to be need. You're down to 11. You're just like, oh, your plan gone. Your plan gone. It's just an 11.
Yeah.
You just keep wiping their ideas off the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, but you can do it with all different things, right? Mind control, obviously, always useful, any kind of will thing. But the issue with Power Word is, especially in multiplayer games, it works on anyone that casts that spell. So, for example, I really wanted to use Transpose with Power Word, but I kept on going against spellcasters who also had Transpose. And I was like, I don't want to cast it because suddenly my opponent also gets that power, right? And especially in one-on-one, you could say maybe it's worth it, right? But because you're both getting the ability, it just becomes a transpose battle. But when you have three people going, you like one person gets negative, but then another opponent gets stronger, right? In that spell, it can often not actually be worth it.
Just make sure you team up. Just make sure you both team up on the other guy then. It's
Yeah,
all cool.
sure.
It's all cool. Just arrange your tactics around that and you're good.
Sure, I guess I'm just not good enough at what do you call it? At diplomacy. So instead, I just wanted to attack that guy.
Yeah.
So I ended up just reducing transpose to a level I could just cast it normally instead of trying to cast power word to use it. So, but overall, still a great spell. But I actually think Draining Word is better.
Okay.
Yeah. It depends on what you want. It messes with people more.
That's what you want, is it? Okay. All right. I get it. All right, on to the next one.
Maybe it's just a play style thing. All right. Next one is Push. So this is a TN8 line of sight. And basically, when you succeed, you do a +10 attack, which is, if you know the rules, this is a maximum plus on the spell. You cannot go over +10 on a roll. And however, when you hit the guy, instead of doing damage, for every damage you would have done, they're moved back 1 inch. And if they're above you, they get lifted into the air and then fall to their doom.
That part's kind of interesting.
Yep. So what do you think?
Oh, I think it doesn't get you that much close. So you could kind of see it as getting you closer to getting treasure, because if the guy is walking towards the treasure, you push him back. But the problem is, if you're playing with enough terrain, you're probably never getting a huge push. So I'm just worried that it gets to be too situational. And I'd rather be doing stuff to that guy who's going after the treasure, like cursing him, possibly even like pulling the treasure towards you with TK. There's just so many other things I'd rather be doing to stop someone from getting closer to the treasure or closer to my guys, that I don't feel like this is a quality support spell, so I'm dropping it down to a C.
I think you're again wrong. I think this is actually a solid B. I'd say this is possibly even a B+. Pushing someone away is often the same thing as killing them, because you push them away so they can't do anything, and then you go on your merry way. That is really good. It also stops your opponent from ever trying to go on any level above your wizard, because you will literally shoot them into the sky and they will die.
Interesting. You could then position your wizard up on top of something, but if you're on top of something, then they can shoot you more easily.
You want them lower.
No.
You can't push them down. you push them up into the air. So you are below. So whenever they try, it basically stops your opponent from ever going on the second floor, and it keeps them on the ground because if you push them up, I think they take 1.5 times the damage of any in inches or something like that, or 2 times, something like that. If you push them, I think it's 2 times. I don't know. I should have looked this up. Anyways, I've shot many a guy to their doom from trying to go on the second floor using push. And also you can use these things to push monsters away. You can use push to push monsters into your opponent.
Yeah. Okay.
This is just movement is very, very versatile and very useful in this game. And I think the fact that it's only TN8 really makes it very useful to cast and resolve these things. For example, like you can push wraiths, right?
That's true.
Wraiths don't even get hit by terrain. They don't get blocked by terrain, so they just keep on going.
Yeah. I guess it's not shooting attacks. You could shoot it into combat, potentially, and remove guys from combat. Should I go try and look at the exact wording on.
You're right. It is not a shooting attack. It's a +10 attack.
Yeah, shooting attack could hit your own guy, in which case your own guy would get angry at you and leave your warband. But you could actually free your guys from combat with this. Interesting. Yep. All right, on that part, I might give
through guys too.
That's where
it's really good.
That's where I really see its utility, is if you're trapped in combat with something you really need out. Like if it's a guy with treasure and he's trying to get away and they lock him, then I actually see this as being way more useful. As you push them off, then some guy who activates with your wizard rushes them to lock them, and then they can't get at the guy who's the treasure, and the guy with the treasure gets away. I now see how you can actually get the treasure using this. That might be the situation I would give this a B for. It's strong. Combat.
I've just used it so often. Like when you have it, you're never sad. Like this is often the best spell to cast when you have it. Often, because it's so easy to cast. It's just, it doesn't seem that strong because it's not doing damage, but just moving guys and pushing them around is often just like crazy.
All right, I'm gonna have to see it to believe it.
All right.
B- for being able to shoot, for being able to get guys.
I think it's a B+
combat, which Leap could do too. I don't
know. Yeah, Leap though is only your friendly guys.
Yeah, it gets your guy out of combat. That's all I want.
Sure. So the last one is Right Scroll. This is a very obvious one, so anyone can cast this. It's a TN12. It's out of game after. And if you successfully cast it, you create a scroll of any spell that you know.
Yep, pretty short one.
Or apparently, actually, I didn't realize this. If you have a grimoire, you can actually create a scroll of something even if you haven't learned it. I didn't even realize that.
I assume we level so fast. You always have your grimoires learned, whatever.
Sometimes it takes a couple levels.
You can sell it for a few coin here and there. Yeah, that too.
Yep. So, what do you think of the spell?
I think this is a really solid support spell, because if you're going for those high cast spells in game and you want them to go off at a critical moment, this is what lets you do this. So you can play for some really risky maneuvers where you're going to have to cast on like a 16 or something of some spell that's not your own, but you know it's going to go off. So you can put yourself in more dangerous positions than you ever would without having to worry about cutting to make them go off. So, and it's out of game to get the whole thing set up, so you're not wasting your valuable time in game. So I give this a B+. Like I'm close to an A on this one almost.
The spell is Sigilist. I didn't take this initially. It enabled so much. Like you're talking about being able to cast things like Mind Control or Fireball or Wall or any spells that you normally have trouble casting. Or, I think we talked about this before, Time Walk or Time Store.
Yeah. Anytime it comes to a key moment on your high cost spell, you can cast. You're like, oh, this is a 16. But I know it's going to work. You can come up with a crazy plan that requires a high cast spell.
Yep.
And you can build a plan around it.
Yep. If you have Time Store, right? Any spell, like oftentimes when you get grimoires, you learn spells that become very, very hard to cast. Well, if you have right scroll, you can activate any of those spells. So if you roll like when I was playing, I ended up using right scroll instead of power word
Yeah, like
because for dispel or
mhm.
transpose, right? Instead of having to cast power word first, I just right scrolled that spell outside a game, and then when it came to casting it, I would always have a backup, right? So this is specifically what I did with dispel. Just both my
Hmm.
wizards just had scrolls of dispel, so they would try to cast it. If it failed, they just used their scroll,
Hmm.
and this is so this is the spell actually that makes a sigilist a sigilist. And I really think it is an A spell. It's so strong. And if you have too many scrolls because you filled up your hands and stuff,
Mhm.
because you have some magical items like a fate stone or something. But once you've done that, then you can start using right scroll just to sell it for 30 gold or
Yeah, I'm playing an
25 gold or
enchanter
something like
right
that.
now, and I've taken right scroll just because it seems that good. So okay, maybe I'm willing to give this one an A because it lets you, because this does get you. This is how you like get treasure or make your plans happen, which is
Hmm.
what the game is about, like making your plans
And
go
when you
off.
learning spells that oftentimes you have no reason to. Like a sigilist is the only one who can often like doesn't feel bad about getting their opposite school's spells
Mhm.
because if they have the grimoire, they can just right scroll the thing and they can still cast those spells, even though it's +6 to cast, which normally would make it impossible to cast.
Yeah, and you just leave it around your vault in case,
Yeah,
like, maybe you don't think you're going to use this game, but if you use up all the other scrolls, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll,
yeah,
I'll get this one going.
super good. All right. Well, those are all of the spells. So now we're going to the align spells. So the Sigilist has three different ones, like every single school, but they are the Enchanter, the Illusionist, and the Thaumaturge. So do you want to go first about what Enchanter spells you want to do?
Yeah, sure. I think you went first on these last time. So
Sure.
the enchanter's good. I mean, well, I'm playing
Oh
Yes, I'm
yeah.
playing enchanter, but for some reason, I don't seem to be taking these enchanter spells. This is weird because
Enchanter has so many good spells. We already
yeah,
went through
yeah, I
them.
know. So because there isn't a good in sigilist shooting attack, I think grenade is an excellent
Hmm.
choice because it casts on a 10 and only
Sure.
puts it up to a 12 for being close to you, which if you were trying to cast the elementalists ones, you know, at 12 plus 2 for their shooting ones, so 14, that's a little high. So grenade, I think,
Hmm.
is a very strong choice for this. Strength
Hmm.
is also another always solid one because it's only on a 10 as well. But I'm
Hmm.
still thinking grenades higher. And then telekinesis. So
Sure. All
I'll.
great spells.
Mhm.
Yeah, telekinesis again. It's one of those spells that helps you get to the treasure sooner. You can
Mhm.
pull the treasure next to your rune, explosive rune. Another way you can get people to
Mhm.
explode onto those runes. But the other things that I had for Enchanter so I did like Grenade. It's a solid shooting spell. It's only 12 when you have it, so it's definitely usable. And we have said that it's kind of a broken spell. It's very good. Then the other two, I think we didn't really mention this, but Enchant Weapon is is always good. Well, you didn't mention it, but that is always useful to buff up your guys. And the last thing is Strength. Again, just to buff up your guys. Strength is also a very, very powerful spell. That while you're aligned, it only costs TN 12 because I believe it's TN 10, right? So it's very castable, and so I really think those ones just to buff up the sigilist's close combat ability
Yeah.
are really useful.
Yeah, I get the impression the sigilist is going to have to like get in some fights, but we'll see. Maybe I won't make
Everyone
that
has to
build.
get in fights.
I know, but I don't know. All right, next one.
All right, illusionist. So I'll go first this time.
Sure.
So for the illusionist, I had two spells that I really like. One is, well, I've already said I like all illusionist spells almost, but the two that I'm thinking that pair well with Sigilist is one is beauty, because it allows you again to get close with explosive rune. So that really does that's always a good spell to have to keep your Sigilist safe. And if you want to go into those kind of more, getting in there kind of Sigilists, beauty is a really good backup, or protection basically from getting hurt even when you get close. And then the other one is my favorite spell in the game, Transpose. So Transpose is again another good thing with Explosive Rune. So you can play Explosive Rune, then move one of your guys within 1 inch and transpose them.
And they enter the explosion radius.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's, generally what you're doing is you would activate your Sigilist and the guy, so that if you fail on transposing them into the rune, you can just move that guy.
Okay.
Right, so you can move him away. So he's not actually. So
he's not
don't
okay.
allow that. Yeah, he's not. Well, he's not within explosive area of the rune if you fail. Right, so then they can just run a crappy guy in and explode the rune on your own guy.
Okay.
But yes, and then of course transpose is like the best spell in the game. So. Oh, yeah. Did I tell you actually? We played it so that transpose, like in the game that we just played. We played it so that transpose needs a will roll on monsters, because
why do they want to be TK'd? Why do they want to be moved? Yeah.
Why do they want to be transposed? It's way too strong. The fact that monsters don't actually resist transpose.
Mm-hmm.
So it did make the spell worse, but I still ended up transposing monsters. It was totally worth it. All right.
Yep. No, I actually just agree with you on those two.
All right.
I'm not sure if there's another one later on, which maybe you go all in on this, because I feel like how I build Sigilist will have to be an all-in thing. So it's either transpose or beauty.
All right.
Same thing.
The last one, I guess we did say glow, but I don't think you actually want to pair that with Fierce Quill, honestly, because that's 2 spells on one guy to double up. Like, you might as well just glow them if you're just talking about shooting. All right, the last one is the Thaumaturge. So what did you have for this one?
So I think you already talked about this a bunch. Is Dispel from the Thaumaturge is really solid on 12 plus 2 of 14. It's worth it when your opponents cast something that you absolutely have to get out of the way if you're doomed. Control. Yep. Well, take your own. Well, whatever. We'll get there. And then heal, because heal is just sort of an easy 8 plus 2. Get some extra health back. Get some of your buddies' health back. But honestly, Dispel was probably more the way to go, because it could get you out of just completely losing. So.
Yep. The last one that I would think about, depending on the other spells you have, is Blinding Light.
Yes.
So just because Blinding Light is a solid spell, it costs 8, so it becomes 10 once you in Sigilist. So it's a solid spell depending on what you're using, depending on the other spells that you choose, right? Just another solid way to stop guys from walking around or escaping with treasure often, right? Solid spell. They do get a will roll, but it's often used.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we had pretty similar ones on that. Usually we're more different on this, but I don't know, we seem to be pretty much on the same lines on these complementary spells. All right, let's see for the neutral spells if we're still this lined up.
All right. I guess I'll do all of mine.
Yeah.
So I had Animal Companion, because having giant monsters, bears.
Yep.
Sorry, but monsters are bears are monsters. Just saying. In this game, bears are monsters. So Animal Companion, Fog is often useful because it's just a general good spell to have. Curse is also just a general good spell, depending on what you're using outside of that, especially if you end up using Transpose or things like that. And then Wizard Eye is also useful. Again, a lot of these spells really depend on what other spells you're taking, right? The Sigilist will often be helping you do other spells better.
That's
right?
exactly what I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Sigilist is kind of a weird school in that it just allows you to do all of these different things in other schools. So having these so depending on the other spells you take, Wizard Eye is often, critical in being able to do that. Ray Zombie, because it's just a strong spell to have another guy running around. And the
Hmm.
last one, I guess I have to mention this because of
We've been
what
mentioning
the
it the whole
list I had
time.
before.
No,
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 Bones of the Earth.
really, not expected.
Yes, to slow people down.
I mean, I'm
I
taking Bones of
just,
the Earth and casting it multiple times every game, and that one didn't even come to me. All right.
yep, it's TN10, so it's TN14. And again, because of the Sigilist, you can use Power Word or generally Bright Scroll, I think, to slow people down.
Mhm.
All
All
right.
right. So mine.
Yep.
So trying to go all in on something, which, as you just discussed, the Sigilist is there to support something else. So you're going to have to pick something from somewhere else. I see that as
Uh-huh.
being like after going through all the Sigilist spells, your
Mm-hmm.
goal, I think, is to pick some other stuff to do, which means that we're
Mm-hmm.
now looking to our S tier spells. So
Mm-hmm.
why even beat around the bush? Just go right for the
Fair
S tier of
enough.
the S tier spells. I want mind control.
That's fair. I guess this makes sense why you think Power Word is stronger. Because uh, Power Word plus Mind Control is very
Mm,
strong.
yeah. Yes. Yeah, because
Yeah,
like we
fair
said, if
enough.
you're going to support something, you support, get behind the best. And then after
Yep.
that, I'd sort of be looking towards the Necromancer for, like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, Ray's Zombie, because why not have that extra guy just kind of lying around?
Mm-hmm.
Always helpful.
Yep.
It's out of game as well. So you're not having to spend your time in game getting that zombie on the board. And then possibly if you haven't taken Dispel, maybe take Spell Eater because you wanted heal from Thaumaturge. So
Mm-hmm. That's
those are the
good.
ones.
That's actually a good pairing. That's a good pairing. You have heal. You can right scroll the
Mhm.
dispel, or sorry, the spell eater, so you can do it off, get it off easily. Good
Yep.
idea.
All right. So I think I've already basically said what my build is. So
Sure.
should I go for my
All
build, or
right.
you go for your
Yeah, yeah.
builds
You
first
you
usually?
go. Yeah, but yeah, so let's change it up this time. You
Okay.
go. You go for it. You already said you almost said it already, so.
Yeah. All right. So for the spells I would actually take,
hmm
I might as well just start with the big one. It's Power Word because I intend to empower the spell that's not in my school to just go
Uh-huh.
all in on that. Even though I said at the beginning I usually play by doing a little bit here, a little bit there. I don't think that
hmm
I don't think that's the way to play the Sigilist. Well, maybe you could take two go-to spells and you choose, like, depending on the game, what you're going to do.
hmm
But I want Power Word. Then after that, I want to go for some of the top support spells, and I want Absorb Knowledge. I want to be doing
Okay.
stuff out of game. I just want that XP because maybe I don't get enough XP in the game. I don't want to level faster. And
Sure.
I don't even want to be casting the sigil spells in this game, honestly. I'm
Sure.
just going to cast it out of game. And the other one we said is essential for Sigilist, right scroll, because we're going
Yep.
to try and make some crazy game plans happen here with
I'm
Sigilist.
seeing
So
that. Yeah.
so I'm gonna need that scroll up for whatever crazy plan I come up with.
Uh-huh.
After that, honestly, I feel I have to have a shooting spell. And Grenade is a
hmm
magic shooting spell because magic stuff's going to, like, creatures that you need magic to attack are probably going to appear on the board. You need a
hmm
shooting attack, honestly, in my opinion. So I want Grenade from the Enchanter.
hmm
Then over to the Illusionist, I want Transpose because just in case you
That's
said your
correct.
opponent has mind control, maybe I
Yep.
power word transpose, or maybe I just want to throw
Yep.
one of my guys into them at the same time. So
Yep.
it's a strong out of school spell. It's a 12 plus 2 on a 14, but hey, maybe you've got
hmm
power word up, maybe you've got the scroll up. We can do crazy stuff now. And then over to Thaumaturge, between, like I said before, Dispel and Heal, I probably honestly just want Dispel. Like, I don't know. I
Okay.
play pretty
Sure.
safe. I play pretty safe, so heals less likely. Then, as I said, for the neutrals, mind control is going to be the main. Is going to be plan A for the game. And then I kind of just feel like raising zombie because maybe I'll transpose this worthless zombie I didn't pay for over to one of their guys, and then their guy appears at me, and then we all just beat on him. So that's my
Yep.
that's my plan. Transpose and mind control for the win.
All right. So mine is actually quite it's similar somewhat, but different. So the three spells that I chose from Sigilist are, like I said, the essential one, Right Scroll. Then I chose Explosive Rune. I
Okay.
really like Explosive Rune. Uh, it's
All right.
just a good, solid damaging spell. Very versatile. Great at stopping magical monsters coming, right? Because it's a +5 shooting attack or +5 attack. And then the last spell that I took is Draining Word because I'd rather, instead of making my spells strong, make your
Okay.
spells worse and then make you upset. So,
Yeah, it'll make another sigilist
so
upset
basically,
because,
yeah,
like we said, they have a game
yeah,
plan. But it doesn't
yeah,
normally make me upset because usually I
exactly.
just dab with it
So
in there.
so if you did it with mind control, I would literally put up Draining Word, and now your mind control, your mind control is now not doing nearly as good. Although it's still, I guess, TN14 minimum. Uh, The other thing is if you don't like messing with people as much, I would actually choose push as the other spell. Because like I said, there's so much versatility in there. You can also push people into runes, which is kind of fun sometimes.
Hmm.
So if you push them through the rune, then they will explode on them. For the enchanter spell, I chose strength, and that's specifically just to make the guys what because I'm using explosive rune, I'm going to be more close to the people.
Yep.
So I want strength guys so that they can just win combats. So you would think I would choose beauty because of that,
Yeah.
but actually no, I would choose transpose for illusionist
Hmm.
because transpose is the best spell. And so with writing scroll transpose,
Hmm.
it's great. You can just cast transpose, and then the last one that I would choose, this is a toss up between heal and dispel. I actually thought I would choose heal. So the
Oh,
spell is very very strong, and honestly, if people have, because I'm taking draining word, I feel like I'm already kind of negating a lot of my opponent's super strong spells. I think the spell is almost the value of the spell is lower, right? So I would choose heal. Heal is just a great spell. You will usually cast it once during a game, right? So it's a great spell to have. Um, so besides that, the thing that makes the rest of the things make sense is I'm going to take Animal Companion.
Okay, I was waiting for
So
that. You're gonna play
so
up and
yeah,
dirty in their
you
face. Hmm.
so you basically take two monsters, i.e. bears, you strength your bear, then you transpose your bear, uh, and yeah, you profit. That's basically it.
Yeah.
And if your bear gets hurt, that's why I took heal, because you can heal your bear so they can keep on fighting. So everything is there to help make my bears awesome. Now, of course, if I face a witch or someone who has control animal, this build will be sad. But besides that, it's a great spell. So I think that's basically how things are working. And in that case, actually, maybe I could take Spell Eater as the last spell
Yeah.
if I needed to. But I'm actually going to take Bones of the Earth to help again lock people in, so
Hmm.
I can do things like lay a explosive rune around them or stop them from running away so my bear can come up and beat them in the face. The fun thing with explosive rune is if they survive the explosive rune, because the what do you call it, bones of the earth is not actually a unit, they're still locked in combat with the hand that's holding them there because the rune doesn't go off on them.
Okay.
So that's kind of the synergy that I'm thinking. And so you can so yeah, that's the general list that I have, and I think that will work quite well, I think.
Okay. Because there are a lot of missions where you get experience for your wizard going or your apprentice going really up the board and like going into something, touching something. So that
Mm-hmm.
sort of build would be good. Like this aggressive build would be good for that. Like it'd be
Yep.
nice to have beauty if you're going that aggressive, but you can't have everything.
Transpose is too strong.
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
could get beauty from like a grimoire, but again, the right scroll allows you. I guess you could do power word and red scroll, but that would allow you to basically use any spell you pick up, which is one of those things that makes Sigilist deceptively powerful, right?
Yep.
All right. So those are our spell lists. What kind of soldiers would you end up taking with them?
I feel like I want a lot of shooting. I'm trying to think what it is about this, but I get the impression that I don't want to be, because I'm mind controlling and transposing. I feel like my plan isn't to just sort of like play football with the guys and just try and like tackle them for the treasure. I just want to mind control the treasure, pull it over, walk him over to me. I want to transpose the guy over to me. So I feel like, unlike your build, where you're going to get like in their face and have some massive brawl with them, I feel like I'm sitting a little further back with this. So I'm going to want to reach out and shoot people. So I'm going to be spending most of my points on possibly crossbowmen, honestly, to just churn out some damage and then grenade them to finish them off out of my points fair. I spend on specialists.
All right. So for me, strength is really good with a Templar. So I would choose a Templar, a Treasure Hunter for speed, because if you see my spells, I don't have as much speed, like actual speed things. Like Transpose allows slower guys to get there, but it doesn't actually make the top level speed faster. So I took a Treasure Hunter, and then the last one is just some range, so just an Archer. I like the moving and shooting better. So that is my list for the soldiers that I would take. Again, I would probably try to upgrade. Get the last thing is probably something like a Ranger. But double Templar does sound very nice. Double strength, double Templar. Ooh.
You've already got bears to give strength. How many strengths can you put up? Like, it's only so much time to put up strength.
4. It only takes 2 rounds.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So yes, you're right. I would probably take a Ranger as the last one. And then try to upgrade the Archer into another Ranger. Yep. So that is my list of soldiers. So the final thing then is, how do you rate the Sigilist?
Honestly, its spells don't feel good. Only because it can support anyone else. Like, if it didn't have such good support spells, it would be a C. The support spells are
but half of the spells are support.
Everything is support. So its spells are honestly a bunch of C's for me. But because they support other things really well, I give it a B.
I would say so. Sigilist is an A. Because as time goes on, the Sigilist really get stronger, especially relative to other guys where they go all in on one thing. Sigilist can both disrupt opponents' strong things with things like Draining Word, and then it can also support, unlike the best out of any school, new grimoires, because it has Red Scroll Power Word, right? So that really allows it to go wide, way better than any other school. It is the go wide school, right? Where you have all these different things and you're able to roll with any grimoires you get. And it's just really strong. And if you take Absorb Knowledge, you're going to be higher level than your opponent as well. So you're outpacing them in spells too. You get the more grimoires, then you get the more right scrolls. You have scrolls for those spells that you're actually grimoiring. It just becomes so versatile in the end. Like, this is the only, I guess, your opponent has to have really good magical items to compete with your Sigilist, whereas your Sigilist can give magical items to everyone else, and they're just taking, let's say, a Fate Stone or something in a power in a Staff of Power, and that's all they need. And then 3 different scrolls, right, or 2 scrolls for your apprentice, and you will be casting them. I really like the Sigilist, and Enchanter, Illusionist, and Thaumaturge is a really good aligned spells to use. Those are really strong. I'd say Enchanter and Illusionist are possibly the 2 strongest. So having both of those in your aligned school, and then having Thaumaturge, which has Dispel and Heal, which are like some of the best support, if not the best support spells in the game. It's just a great overall package.
It has good line schools. Like, there's no question about that.
Yep. And it has the support spells to make those things go off.
Yeah, it's just my playstyle. I prefer right from the get-go. Like, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
wait to have my spells build up, and nor do I want to
You don't have to wait.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Everyone else has to wait because they have to level up those spells. The Sigilist is the only one who doesn't have to wait because they just write scrolls for any spells that they want to cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just prefer to be able to dabble and do a spell for this, do a spell for that, do a little spell for this.
That's why you want to use a Sigilist. Dabbling is the exact thing that the Sigilist is better than any other school to do if you're into dabbling.
Yeah, but I don't want to have to wait to get all those scrolls. I just want to here. No, I don't want.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
I don't want to
play. You got to play the Sigilist. I bet you'll love the Sigilist. If you like dabble, you will love the Sigilist. I'm telling you. You can even, once you fill up your scrolls, you start getting money from the right scroll.
I don't know. I'm just not seeing it. I'm seeing it as having to go too much.
I don't know.
Transpose mind control.
My wizard was really strong in the last one, and she was a Sigilist, and it did all of those things. And I didn't even start off. Like, I took Bridge, which is like the only spell in the Sigilist that I think is kind of garbage, as one of my starting spells. And the Sigilist still ended up being amazing. So,
yeah. I don't know. Later on in the campaign, it's fine because you bring your scroll casting down a little bit, or your spell casting
actually,
down.
you don't even have to. Don't even have to. What other school can take a random, super strong 16 cast spell and start using it from the beginning of the game? No other spellcaster can do that.
Yeah, you gotta use
maybe a
scrolls
thaumaturge because they can heal themselves. You can't because you can't write scrolls.
Yeah, it's too many scrolls to write. Too many to hold on to.
It works, man. It works.
I got to be full of orbs and staffs and two-handed.
It's okay. This is I think the first one where we're so far apart. But I gotta say, I used a Sigilist. It worked out pretty well. So. Did you think that my spellcaster was weak last game? I don't think so. I think it was very strong. I would be happy on any one-on-one.
Yeah, because you're casting good mind controls, and mind control's annoying. That's why
I never casted mind control.
Really?
I never had mind control.
Transposing.
I had dispel. I had dispel as transpose. And this is one thing. Like I said, I didn't level up transpose. I didn't level up dispel.
No, you level up right scroll, I would think.
I just had right scroll. And you only need two dispels in general in a game, or well, 2 or 3, right? Because you can also succeed, just roll it, right? And then if you fail, you use the right scroll. So I'm just telling you, man, they're they're deceptively strong. It really is. The Sigilist as a support thing, because they go all in on this kind of support thing, it's deceptively a very strong school. All right. Well, it seems like even though I played you, and readers or listeners note, beat the pants off of him, but we don't have to talk about that. Except for that stupid strength infantryman. That guy was my bane. Yeah, but all the other guys.
And having control. And I had control animal to take your bears.
That didn't matter. Right. Didn't matter. I dispelled it. People would take it. I would just dispel it.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work for them to try to roll it, and then also sometimes fail, and then if they fail, then I immediately dispel it, and it basically does nothing.
Oh, nothing for nothing.
Totally fine, by the way.
It's neutral.
No, because sometimes they would miss, and then I would do other things. So it was all upside. All right. This obviously is not working. Well, this is obviously means not working. This is obviously at an impasse. But I guess anyone listening, why don't you come and you tell us who is right? Is the Sigilist an A or a low, or did you say a C, or did you say a low B, or somewhere in between?
I think a low B.
A low B or something in between. And so if you want to tell us, you can comment on any of on the video, or you can email us at contact@diceovereverything.com.
Or find us on Facebook. We're Dice Over Everything.
This has been Alan.
It's from Brandon.
Bye.